Welcome everybody out to podcast number 251. We've got Brandon Montero, the beard, out with us tonight, and we're going to have a great podcast. Brandon, you want to say hi to everybody?
Howdy, I'm Brandon. Still Brandon.
Still Brandon. All right, everyone, stay with us. It's going to be a fun podcast.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
All right, everyone, welcome. Like I said, we've got Brandon with us. What better way to finish a week than to have Brandon Montero finish out the week with us talking about energy? So, Brandon, I published on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday today the 4 major sections of the book, Elevating Construction Takt Planning. So I don't know if I've given you a copy of this, Brandon, but this on audio, I published it for free on the podcast. So everyone's been listening to that. We've got stellar numbers. And so now they have something that I'm asking them to implement that will really jam out their life. So now we get to talk about energy. Where do we get the energy to do these things? So we're going to get right into our podcast, but I want to just introduce the topic. So Brandon and I we're kicking around some ideas. We have like 100 different topics that are ready for us. But I am looking up here at a picture. I don't know if anybody's ever read High Performance Habits. I know there's also a book called Atomic Habits. There's The Power of Habit. There's a number of good books. But I like High Performance Habits because it aligns with some of the things I've been finding lately, that people are successful when they, 1, seek clarity in their life, 2, generate energy, 3, raise the necessity of getting things done, 4, increase their productivity, 5, develop influence, and 6, demonstrate the courage to execute. So I swear to you, Brandon, when I read the generate energy, I was like, I got to talk to Brandon about this. So that's the topic for our podcast tonight. I would like to first we don't have to do a lot of scaffolding, just one question. What are you excited about in life right now?
Man, I thought about this on the drive home. I'm excited about life, and I was thinking that you always have to have a really specific thing going on, or can you be happy about life? For me, for instance, why would I be happy about life? Most amazing partner in my life, the people that I get to interact with, things on the horizon from a work standpoint, from a life standpoint, from a vacation standpoint. I'm excited about actual life, just life as it is. And I feel like I'll talk about this some more, but there's a lot there to be happy about, like just being alive. You don't always have to have that thing on the horizon that drives your happiness.
That's awesome. I appreciate where we are, right? You and I were having a topic. You and I were having a talk just before we got on the record. Am I recording?
Oh, yeah.
I'm recording. So we didn't tank the first 15 minutes, but we were having a conversation about, for me, I'm like, ooh, I just did this big thing or this big thing. And sometimes if things are kind of normal, I'm like, yeah, a little bit down. But talking to you tonight, you've got ups and you've got mediums, right? And you're ecstatic tonight, even with the mediums. You know what I mean? I got a great partner. I just got done teaching. You just got done teaching at ASU. Work was wonderful. You got all these things to look forward to. So I really think you're, setting an example today, Brandon, just living in the moment. So love that. So let's get into our topic, if that's okay. Oh, by the way, what I'm excited about. So I was finished up the Takt planning book and the lean Takt business. And now I've learned that one of my favorite things to do is writing books. So this one, so there's quite a bit of content in here. I wrote this one in 6 weeks with Spencer's input. And the editor just stayed right with me, and I'm ready for the next one. And I went through the next outline for superintendents. I'll give you a guess how long just the outline was, how many pages just the outline was with bullet points. Give me a guess.
I've never seen one of your outlines, so I don't know if you're one of those high level, like 6 bullet point people, and then they turn that into 28 chapters. But I'm gonna go with maybe a precise and high functioning. Let's go with 30 pages.
Okay. Well, it's not too far off. So each one is just normal spacing bullets. 68 pages is just the outline.
Wow.
And I obviously, so Katie was like, bro, do not put that in a book. She was like, you have to separate out different volumes. You're going to bore somebody to death. But I was like, this is great. Like, there's one thing to have something passionate to talk about, but it's another when it's just the tip of the iceberg. That's what I'm excited about right now, is that, we're on podcast 250, and I would show somebody, if I wouldn't waste their time, the outline just goes on and on and on. And the rest of the books, it just goes on and on and on. And the book you're writing about surveying, it just goes on and on and on. And all of the outlines are just as impactful as anything we've already published. There's so much good things in the future. That's what I'm excited about. So
that is exciting. That made me think of the 12-volume Encyclopedia Britannica that maybe some of our parents had when we were growing up. It sounds like you're gonna have like a 6 to 8 volume Encyclopedia Superintendica.
Well, we're at least gonna have a 6-volume Encyclopedia Fieldica. I don't know what you would call it, but you're writing the survey book. We have one on Takt and superintendents. We'll get 2 more for supers, another one for field engineering, and then depending on the need, whether it's for coordination or for scheduling or whatever, we're just going to keep going as long as it's not fluff, as long as it's impactful. Best bang for our buck stuff. So I see at least 7 books on the horizon, or not 7, but 7 total on the horizon. So yeah, we got to keep going, Brandon. Like, this is too good.
I want to take this as an example of, if you're listening and you're like, wow, these guys really can toot their horn for 10 minutes. We're not actually describing accomplishments that are in play that are currently generating like commerce or finance. What we're actually describing is a whole bunch of work that we have to do that we could view as hanging over our heads or resting on our shoulders. But our choice of how we view that is as future opportunities and really exciting things that we get to delve into. And I just want to put that little spin on, like, we're actually describing a crap ton of work that needs to get done. And we're just like, can you believe how cool this is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there is something there from an energetic standpoint as well.
Yeah. And I feel like, well, yeah, I don't want to ruin what you said because it was too good, but I look at it as like, it's eternal progress. Like, yeah, we got a book. So what? Like, that's already blessing people's lives. What's the next thing to bless people's lives? What's the next thing after that? And I'm not always living in the future, but I think that's what's great. And that's, maybe this ties into our topic, and I want you to talk more. They hear from me all the time, but when I go around to a lot of jobs and I cringe, and this sounds judgy, but I guess that's me, but I cringe when I get it. The team is amped up, the project manager's amped up, everyone else is amped up. And then the salty superintendent comes up and says, "Oh, why are you here?" I'm like, I am here. I don't say that, but I'm like, yeah, I'm here to help you out or check things out or, work with you to go to the next level. And then they'll say something like, well, we're doing pretty good. We don't need, and they'll go into this little spiel and come to find out. And I'm not making fun of older people or retired folks, but somebody will say, yeah, he's retiring in 2 years. He's just in it for the money right now. And I'm like, what a shame. What a shame. We should be looking forward to things. Like, why do we do lean? Because it's energy, right? Why do we do continuous improvement? It's energy. Why do we get better and get that Brandon quality in life? It's excitement. You know what I mean? Like, that's, why not be excited about our life? I mean, how would you put it? Am I on track there?
Well, I think so for sure. And like you said, I got a slew of topics. I don't know, how far to take this one, but how could you be that guy who's, say you're in it for the money. You know what that means? That means that while you talk to this trade partner and, he's just kind of putting things together and, he wasn't prepared for the conversation. It's taken longer than you wanted. And you're just like, well, $2, $5, $10, $25. Like, be excited about that. If you're in it for the money, then just be like, hey, I can actually see the money in everything I do. I just turned in this report that earned me X dollars. I just did this for the company. Like, there are little ways that you can view those activities that report back a positive to you on whatever your metric of what's happening that's positive in my life is. And it's kind of a decision on where you want to go with that, how exactly you want to say, this is how I generate my energy.
I agree. One thing that came to my mind, we've got to get to our topic eventually, but the other day on the Lean Construction Blog webinar, you nailed it, Brandon. Like, absolutely nailed it when you're talking about giving 100%. I never grow tired of listening to you talk about that. And then as we're talking tonight, I'm realizing it's not just about forcing ourselves in whatever energy capacity we have at the moment to go into that 100%. I'm not even using the right words, but it's, can we generate the energy? Can we generate the energy to show up at 100%? And, that might be a really neat thing to mention as we talk about it in the future, is not just tell them the goal, but what does it take to get there? And so let's get right into our podcast topic tonight. What do you think when I say generate energy? Knowing that energy is what it takes to move anything forward, like, what comes to your mind? What would somebody have to have? What are the key considerations or opinions, whatever you want to say, that helps us to generate that energy as a high performer?
I would say that when you mention that phrase, a lot of people think about, we think about energy every day. We think about the cost of energy. There are windmills and power plants that are creating and generating energy. All of that comes from some kind of movement, some kind of activity, right? When we think about energy in our own lives, oftentimes we think about, well, how much sleep did I get? How much, how rested am I feeling? Did I eat enough? Does my body have what it needs to keep going? Am I feeling strong? And we'll consider energy from that standpoint. But I want to talk a little bit more about the topic of the energy that you feel like. For example, say you get a surprise drop-in from somebody that you absolutely love in your life, and they just show up surprised at your front door.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a feeling that you have all of a sudden. It's excitement, it's happiness, and it's as far away as you could get, kind of like mentally and emotionally, from like, well, I'm about to fall asleep right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that energy doesn't take food. It doesn't take sleep. The excitement that you might feel, when you're a brand new person in love, right? You have all of these happy feelings. You're just feeling really good. Sometimes you forget to eat. Sometimes you stay up all hours talking to somebody on the phone. So what energy source is that? Is that related to food? Is it related to tiredness? Or is it related to something internal that you have created? And if it is, what's it based on?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Like, how do you really create that intangible energy that's not related to consumables, that's not related to the action of sleeping?
I love that. And I hope I don't derail us too much and I think it's back to your point about bragging. I'll use Paul Akers as an example. People are like, I don't like Paul. He's on YouTube always showing off his stuff and bragging. I'm like, well, I don't see that. I see that he's sharing, right? Neither of us, and I'm not making people feel guilty, but neither of us have to be out here, at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, away from our families, recording a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, we don't get paid for this, right? So I'm here sharing, you're here sharing, we're not bragging. I want to say this, and it might sound like bragging, but it's not, is that I've had people tell me that they mainly, they would say, Jason knows a lot about field operations. Like, I don't think anyone would deny that, right? But I've heard clients say, when I feel like I need energy, I call you. I invite you over. I need to hire you. You know what I mean? I thought, well, hold on a minute. I'm selling knowledge over here. But I've had a couple people tell me that they're buying my energy. And because there's two things with that, and I think it ties into what you're talking about. It's not insincere. I light up. You and I light up when we're in front of a group, especially at boot camps. We light up. And today I was on a call with a bunch of superintendents for a new client giving a talk, like actually just giving a speech. And I lit up because that's my zone. I'm in flow right there. You know what I mean? And I decided to do it because I'm sincere and I enjoy it. And you're going to teach us all kinds of other ways to get to it. But I just thought, how impactful is that? And the last thing I want to say on this little point before you go is energy is everything. It's going to affect your paycheck. It's going to affect your promotions, and it's going to affect your spouse. It's going to affect everything, right? And so why not show up in those moments and be a person that somebody would hire you for just to be around and lift them up? And I just want to say it's worked for me over and over and over. So my quick answer is this. I think one thing that's important for me is it has to be sincere. Let's keep talking about it.
Sure. One of the, if you're a person who has attended any of our boot camps or even heard about them, or even seen pictures of them on the website, right? There's high energy for a reason. We're attempting to create reservoirs from which people can pull energy. On top of that, though, one of the exercises that we do is to give a person the opportunity to just be, standing there and for no apparent reason to lose it. And I mean lose it energetically, with joy, with vocalized volume, with body movement, with anything, whatever, outward expression of that energy they can create. We'll take it. We want it. And if it's not enough, we'll ask for more of it. And if it's apparent that somebody's holding back for some reason, right, it's holding some of that in, we will not sympathy vote them, and we'll have them continue on it until they've created energy, right, in themselves for no reason. That's one snapshot. Another thing that we do is there's some meditative practices, right, where we concentrate on the feeling of energy within ourselves. So those are a couple of tangible ways, right? We always think about, like, what's the tangible thing that it should come back to? Well, going back to the emotional component, when someone comes to visit us, when we're in love, if we have this feeling of energy, is it that person that's bringing it to us? Or is it our decision about how we feel in that situation that creates the energy? Right? So I'll take it back to, is it really an outside stimulus? Or is it just something within ourselves that decides this is how I want to feel?
Yeah.
In any given moment, right? About anything, really. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that. Katie and I've kind of been back and forth, and we were bantering. Sometimes if I'm in victim mode, and it happens more than I ever want to admit, but I'm like, you made me feel such and such. And then she's like, I didn't make you feel anything like that. You decided to do that. And I'm like, oh, I'm a lot better now, Brandon. Just to be clear, I am not always bad husband, but it's right. I'm about as happy as I've made up my mind to be. And like you said, when I come in that door, have I decided to give 100%, or did I decide to be tired? Because we've proven in these boot camps, going 17, 18-hour days, you can go all 18 hours with no rest, very little to eat, under complete stress, and be high energy. So who decided that I was tired when I got home and came home to my kids? I did. Who decided if I'm quiet in the corner doing an interview? I did. Who decided that I was grumpy this morning? I did, especially if I didn't do what you said with meditation and starting my day right? So we can decide and show up. I totally agree with that. So that's my opinion. I didn't always believe that. And when I talk, even the folks that I talk to today, I'm having up until now, I've had a hard time convincing people, and still people, when they ask for superintendent boot camps, they're like, it's 90% technical, right? And yeah, it's 90% technical, but we have to have quite a bit of personal development because supers know what to do. Project managers know what to do. Surveyors, most of the time, like in any realm, people know what to do. But do they have the 80%, which is that will I do it, showing up with 100% in accountability? That's what's missing. We don't have a huge knowledge gap in our industry. We know how to run great projects, but we don't have people showing up deciding that they're confident shoulders back that they're going to make it happen. And I think we're at a real disadvantage until the industry realizes that and people decide to be confident enough and to go implement and execute. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here. That's how I feel about it. There's two things every year I'm alive. There's two things that really impact me. Number one, the importance of flow in construction and in surveying and anything we do. And number two, the merits of personal development in the execution of successful projects. Those two things. If we could probably change this business that we work in just to focus on those two things, and we'd have probably the biggest impact on construction. So that's my opinion. I don't know if you're going in a different direction with that, but
I feel like these are all moving in the same direction. I was thinking about going back to the job site concept. The job site is your environment, and so there are things that will happen on the job site throughout the day. But we've also talked about the concept of, could you introduce a reason for a stimulus that gives you energy or gives you joy? And so, in that moment, whether it's something that happened in your life or whether it's something that you, created as an idea, whatever it was, that made you happy. So you have that feeling of, I'm feeling joyful, feeling energetic, right? Now, what about that as just a feeling not associated with those activities? So you're happy about something, and then if you ever come home and been like, man, I had a great day. How long did that thing that made you happy affect you? And how long past that did you just realize, I'm in a really good mood, I enjoy the feeling of this good mood, and I'm going to stay in this good mood because it feels good to me to do so?
Yeah. And to your point, why couldn't a morning routine trigger that good mood just as well as a random circumstance could? That's something that I just thought of. Go ahead. Sorry.
100%.
Yeah.
So the thought process that I was having is, if you have decided to have that feeling, or if you're enjoying that feeling, right, and it's separate necessarily from an activity, you're just feeling open. You've got energy inside yourself and you're letting it out. It feels joyful. It feels good. When something negative happens or something challenging happens or whatever it is, you really have an opportunity to examine that also as, okay, this could have an effect if I allow it to have an effect, right? And when I say effect, I mean on your mood. If it's a true thing that you need to address, it's going to have an effect on your actions. You need to honor that issue that's come up or that challenge. You need to give your attention to that challenge and address it and work your way through it. All of those things are true. But the mood change that you decide to have to go along with that really goes back to, is it your decision to exist from a place that feels good and like, hey, I'm liking this energy. Something else has come into the sphere. You have to change your energy to handle this other matter. Or can you just stay in the energy that you had before, and as a set of actions rather than as an emotion, can you handle that matter? Can you give it your attention? Can you work on it? So I guess what I'm talking about really is, yes, There are morning routines. Yes, you can, and I know in our boot camp we talk about there's a checkbox of 100%. Are you going to show up at 100% and fill out this checkbox? I did this action. I showed up, right? All of those are a thing to place on the horizon for yourself so that you can believe that you want to generate an energy and feel a certain way and then move towards that item until you have it. Well, before you had it, you created the feeling.
Yeah.
You're there. And what is it that, in our lives that makes us decide, well, I literally created this for nothing for a reason, or, I met a person that makes me feel good. There's good associations from the past or whatever. But it's you being like, oh, I'm excited about this, right? All of those things are ultimately your decision path, and they're not tied to the object. So can you just be like, hey, I'd like to feel good. I felt good all day because of this one thing that happened. Could I also feel good all day tomorrow? Or, is it really tied to this, this one energetic item that just runs out? Or are you the energetic item? That's what I'm getting at. Are you the energetic item at the end of the day? And so when the energy stops, is it your personal decision to say, I'm affected differently by the situation and I'm deciding to change my mood to, or I'm deciding to change my mood to combative or, depressed, or, could you be tired, like really dead tired, but also in a really positive mood?
Yeah.
Feel happy, right? There are just so many ways where you have to, at the end of the day, be like, is it the totem, or is it your item that generated this for you? Or is it you? And if it is, what is the limit to that necessarily, other than your own decision-making process?
I totally agree. Have you ever read The Man's Search for Meaning?
No.
So it's by Viktor Frankl, and he was a neurologist, and I've got a couple of notes up here. That's what I'm looking up. But he was a neurologist and psychiatrist, and he developed something called logotherapy, which is basically meaning therapy. And he came to a lot of these conclusions being a victim of the Holocaust. So he was a Holocaust survivor, and he noticed that when these poor victims, and like this is a time where I'll use the word victim, like they were legitimately victims, uh, they could always tell when somebody was about to die. Most of the time, they would smoke their last cigarettes all in one batch. They had decided that their life didn't have meaning anymore and they were going to give up. And that the people that endured, they weren't necessarily more noble or more righteous or anything like that, but there was a purpose. There was a meaning for them. Their life had meaning. Their therapy, their endurance, their drive, their grit came from their purpose, their meaning in life. And I know that sounds kind of lofty. It is a little bit lofty, but basically his thesis was, if somebody has meaning in what they're doing, then they can endure, and in good circumstances, actually even thrive and develop that energy that you're talking about. I think that's a really fantastic concept. I was for fear of maybe sounding a little bit negative, I'll ask you to forgive me for this a little bit, but you and I have noticed multiple people, unsuccessful people, who could be doing what they're passionate about and being fulfilled in life, not performing at a high level because they've told themselves that that's not needed. How many times, Brandon, have you and I coached somebody or been around somebody and they say, yeah, I don't speak up. I don't do well in meetings. That's me. I want to be authentic. I can succeed either way. And then they don't, right? Or somebody who isn't good with people, they're like, well, yeah, this is me. I'm not going to change. I'll be fine. And then they're not, right? Or they're really low energy and nobody ever notices them. Or. And these people, and you and I know a couple people that have left the company or were fired simply because they didn't have the meaning, the purpose, and the energy, the corresponding energy to show up. And so one question that I'm coming up with as I'm listening to you is, would somebody hire you? No, they would you, but I'm saying generally to anybody, would somebody hire you based only on your energy? I think that's a question that I'd like to ask myself as I continue throughout my career. Would somebody hire Jason Schroeder simply based on my energy and the meaning and the authenticity that I have to that meaning? Would they hire me just for my energy aside from any of my other qualities? And I think if the answer is yes, then I think I'm performing. And if not, I probably need to step it up. Thoughts?
Two thoughts. While we were talking, Jennifer brought me in Search for Meaning from her collection. And I just want to say, as part of the reasons that I'm so stinking happy all the time, just wants to be with somebody that's aligned in, future trajectory. It's like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Awesome is the answer for both of us, and we're moving in the same direction. But in response to what you were saying, I'll tell you something that makes me so stinking happy. And you gave the example about the crusty superintendent.
Yeah.
But that's not your
Salty.
most
Salty.
Sorry. Well, I mean,
they're probably crusty.
A little water build up.
Somewhere they're crusty. Yeah.
But what is more typical? So I'll say, I've had a lot of overlap with the field engineers, at my day-to-day place of employment. And when I go to a project site and I see, a field engineer who's been to one of our boot camps sees me, they get a big smile on their face. And a lot of them are just like, they start to bop with some sort of energy. And in my mind, I'm like, they just had a rock song start playing in their head.
Yes.
They're remembering past energetic flow and exchange by looking at me.
Yeah.
Right. So we talked about what do you need to have an item in front of you to generate your happiness? Well, people, the answer to that is no. It really is ultimately you making some sort of a decision on a conscious or subconscious level, depending on your decision to do that. Well, but it's okay to have a thing. It's okay to have a morning routine. It's okay to meditate. If there are easy button ways that you get in touch with that energy, stinking do it.
Yeah.
So I want to be one of those things for other people. And that's part of what makes me happy as a human being, that I get to affect other people literally, so that when they look at me, they hear a rock song start playing in their head. And I'm just like, I am a rock song walking around, or I'm a love song when I see Jennifer. Like, I want people to see me and remember the past experience of me as an energetic being and be like, and I'm energetic now as a result. So could we, what's the reason, they say, well, there's no reason to be energetic, or there's no reason to be happy. Well, there's no reason to feel negative or blah or to get by in a mediocre existence either. My reason to be happy is that I get to be me, which feels really good, but also I want to give something to other people so that they have a reason to be happy. Like, if you forgot to meditate and you, didn't get your favorite meal and all those things that set you on a great day, but did Brandon Montero show up at your job site and you're just like, I remember how energetic this guy made me feel that other time, and he's still acting like that right now. Like, you can rub off on people, project teams, wives, husbands, children, all of those things with your personal energy, because it is contagious and people are looking for that reason to feel good. Why not let it be you?
I agree. Let's see. So I think this is the song people hear when they see you. 1 second. Let me see if I got this. Do you hear it?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear that very well.
Whether they view me as the shredding guitar and they're the person that is yelling, or it's the other way around, it doesn't matter, because people are feeling good.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Gosh, the only trouble with listening to somebody is you forget what you're going to say. I completely agree. And, if we don't have, I don't want to be too dramatic with this, but if we don't have anchors like that, then maybe I'm not going to say we're wasting time, but there's better moments out there. Let me tell you what I'm thinking, and let me see if I'm right. So your point is, if there's easy buttons, you say go freaking do it. I love that. In life, I think low energy can be. I look at it as suffering. Constant low energy for me would be suffering. And I'm not going to insult somebody to say if they're on the other end of this podcast that if they're low energy that they're living a bad life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, for me, I have found that being around people like you, hearing that song play in my mind when I see you, going through boot camps, going to Tony Robbins, going to Rapport Leadership International, doing something every 3 months or every month or whatever, and doing the small things in between, and remembering constantly those feelings and anchoring myself back to them, bring me a sense of joy that makes me feel like I am utilizing the most of my life. There's a One Republic song, I think it's called I Lived, but he says, I lived every second, I lived every moment. I can't remember the words, but anyway, I lived every second, every day that I lived. And like, I want to do that. Like, that would be stinking cool. How cool would it be to say, yeah, there were some bad days intermixed in there. Totally get it. But for the most part, I freaking rocked this world. You know what I mean? Like, when I walked in the room, people knew I was there, not because I was arrogant, but because I was determined to elevate that room. I just think that would be cool, Brandon.
100%. And I would say, like for me personally, it's not that I have never had tragedies in my life, right? I certainly have. It's not that I don't face the same challenges day in, day out, with having to make hard decisions at work or having things go completely wrong. But I would say that from my day, right? Oh, here's a good example. You have a mood or a feeling associated with a certain type of food, right? If you had a really bad experience, you got, sick off of the crab legs that one time, somebody mentions crab legs or you smell crab legs and you just have this like, whew, you immediately go to that place. Or you have people that are like that. You meet a person and you're like, I have a negative association with this person. I'm on guard now. I don't feel good. I don't really want to laugh. Like, that is normal. What is your association with yourself?
Yeah.
Or could you have an association with yourself? So the more opportunities that I look for joy, right? What is my past association with Brandon? My past association is, well, I felt really good yesterday and it felt really good. So I kind of want to feel like that when I'm around Brandon being Brandon today. I know this sounds really silly, but like it is, I'm describing like when you look in a mirror that's looking in another mirror and it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
well, but it is that my
see it going.
myself is that I was in a good mood yesterday and it felt great. So I'm going to do it again today and other things will happen. But this is the best one. And then it goes back to the like being in love with life. Okay, so that thing happened and it did happen. But let's say I had a negative experience with someone and it lasted 10 minutes. Let's say I had a crap-tastic day and it lasted 8 hours while I was at work. Or something happened with family and it's on my mind for days, right? But also around all of that, as bookends and sandwiched in the middle, was me being a good mood. Mm-hmm. What's my history to pop back to at all times? It's always, was I in a good mood because I decided to be? So when I'm in those times, I'm like, okay, well, I am dealing with this matter, but my go-to mood in which I deal with this important item is happiness, resilience, flexibility, inner joy, positivity and empathy. Like, hey, that's what I bounce back to because that's what I choose to practice the most. So those associations could be there. So when I'm associating with me, or when I look at a hard day and believe me, I've had them. Well, how does that correspond to the overall timeline of my life? Like, it's a tiny drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying life. I'm enjoying it because there's people out there who challenge me that I get to learn from. I'm enjoying it because I continually get to learn how to make my partner feel happy and be better at it. And then be like, and now she's really, really, really happy. And what could I do tomorrow because I still want to learn her? Or, like it just really goes on. And I do like to think of like, what's the bigger picture? The bigger picture is I get to be me, and who's me? Somebody that chooses to be happy day in and day out. You can have items that you cling to practice that so that you can build that history of happiness. But if you remember a negative person, can you remember the last time you were happy and be like, I want to feel like that again and do it because you did it before? Of course you can.
I love that. And to your point, like for me, practically, I just finished the Tony Robbins event, and like I'm amped up on life. Like I'm back, like Schroeder's back, and I'll do another one later on this year, and I'll do one next year, and I'll do another report training, and you and I will do like 15 boot camps. I recommend that. I do. I have YouTube videos that are my go-tos. I'll listen to Eric Thomas on a podcast, or I'll listen to Eric Thomas on a YouTube video to get myself amped up. I'll listen to music. I have these, but I think what you're saying is there's a higher and holier way. This is what I'm going to say. There are ways where you can create that own environment yourself. It's funny that I mentioned high performance habits. He talks about throughout the day, he says, can you just quiet your mind, close out what has already happened, get closure on it, say this, and this happened because of this, and then think about the next task that you're going to do and stand there, breathe if you need to, but literally just imagine success and how you want to show up and get your mind through that what do they call that? Context switching I think I forget words, but anyway, changing of the context mentally, and imagine yourself winning. Like if you're going into a boardroom, high energy. If you're going into a boot camp, massive energy. If I'm going into discuss somebody, massive connection. Like imagine yourself, and he says, give your mind that 1 or 2 minutes to reframe, and then decide to show up, and then remember that motion equals emotion. Put your shoulders back and physically stand how you want to show up, and tell your brain, this is where we are now, regardless of what happened. And so what I'm hearing from you is, even if you do have some of these other triggers, you can show up right in the moment, reframe, refocus, and show up. Right?
And a lot of times it's very much so. A lot of times it's just relaxing and allowing, the other stimuli around you to just kind of be let go, and settling into the feeling of, this is the choice of how I want to feel, generating it, and I'm going to allow myself to settle into that. And, you mentioned the thing earlier about sincerity. It's best when it's sincere. Then practice it. Practice it. Be there because you want to be there, and it will be sincere and it will feel sincere. And if it doesn't right now, or, for boot camp people that maybe did some of the breakout exercises, it might not feel normal to them, but did you just do something that you hadn't done before? And could you create a new set of experiences and patterns with yourself that you could fall back on in the future as, this is how I want to act, this is how I want to be?
I agree. 100%. I was going to say, so I learned a new word. I don't know if you've ever, I don't know if you ever heard, have you ever heard the word flossom? So, no, so it's flawed and it's awesome. So what we're talking about is flossom. Like literally, it ain't easy. It doesn't always, it doesn't always work the first time. You got to hit it again, but it's awesome. One thing that comes to my mind is like, there's this, I'll probably lose everybody by saying this, but there's a movie that I love for some stupid reason called Margin Call. Have you ever seen it?
Margin column?
Yeah, Margin Call. So it's a movie about a business. I think they're basically financial investment brokers. Yeah, they're investment brokers, and it's this huge company. And they start to see that they've over leveraged the company, and because of some market turbulence, the company's about to go down. So then they sell all of their garbage products and tank the market, Right. So it's this movie. Anyway, the CEO, I think he might have been chairman of the board. I don't know. The head dude was in a meeting and he's so arrogant, right? And he's in a meeting and he's like, does anybody care to know why I make the big bucks? And he plays the part so well. You don't get mad at him. It's just this funny part. He's like, does anybody want to know why I sit in this chair, why I make the big bucks? And he goes on to this, on this spiel. And so I'm channeling him right now. Like, do you want to know why people call in Brandon and Jason into a super boot camp or a field engineer boot camp? Does anybody care to know why? And it's because we can overcome the embedded, entrained, somewhat subconscious and almost unintentional negative energy of 35, 45, 50 people who've been beat down by this industry for decades. And we can overcome that massive energy, that negative energy, and overpower it and create our own environment to where they willingly come into it. I'm not saying that great, right? But that's why we get paid the big bucks. That's a joke. That's a joke. But I'm being a little bit confident here. I'm not being arrogant, I hope. But like, that's what people pay us to do. Could other people run boot camps? Absolutely. Could other people do trainings? Yes, and they do. And most of them are super boring. What does it take to do a remarkable training? Well, it takes the muscling, the stamina, the get up and overcoming ability, this almost impossible task of saying, my energy will prevail in this room, even though I'm outnumbered 45-2, right? And I think that's a neat visual for life. Could I go into a room, whether it's 45 or 5,000 or 500,000 or 2 people, and overcome the energy in the room with my own positive environment, my own positive energy? Yes, that is the point. Yes, I can. And to your point, the more we practice that, it's going to become, it's flawsome, right? It's not always perfect, but it will become you will become a person that can show up and elevate everyone else. And I just like that little visual. And you do it all the time when we're together. And that's what I love. And that's what I want people to understand. When you're paying for a boot camp or when you're attending a boot camp, you're paying for that transformation. I don't even know how to explain it. From going from 40% energy and 40% capacity to 100% capacity, simply because there's no other choice, because you've chosen to associate with people that are going to challenge you to get there.
Yes, and you made the comment about creating like what remarkable experiences for people, or have them believe that the boot camp was remarkable. Well, really, we're teaching people, along with the technical skills that they need, to themselves be remarkable, and to believe that they're remarkable, and to leave the boot camp thinking, I just acted in a way that's remarkable to me. It's brand new. Or I just saw 2 guys and 80% of the rest of the boot camp be remarkable for hours and question themselves, why am I holding back? Why wasn't I able to, to let go and be remarkable, show up at 100%? That contrast has to be put in front of them. And to do that, we better show up as remarkable. You and me, if we were hoping for the big bucks because we're benefiting people truly, like, we have to teach someone how to be remarkable. We have to show up as remarkable. And they have to leave believing that they are, or those technical skills will sit on the shelf or sit in a book, a great book, like they are right now, for your company, for your employees, for wherever. That's what all that stuff's already out there in the universe from a technical standpoint. We need some remarkable folks to dust that stuff off and start throwing it around the room.
I love that. In fact, when I get pushback, I'm going to mention that. Yeah, we can do just technical skills if you want to put 10 more technical skills on the shelf. But if you want them to use the technical skills, the 10 more and the ones they already had, then let us do what we do. That's it. Let us do what we do, because that's amazing. And that's what we need. I don't know what else we can say on this podcast other than that's
I do, Jason.
you got the funny. Well,
Yeah.
no, I guess what I'm saying is like that's really what it comes down to. And I want to ask the question one more time for anybody listening. And if the answer is no, don't get down on yourself. Just think, what am I going to actionably do next? When is Jason and Brandon coming out next? Not from an arrogant standpoint, but because like we're a tool. Well, I'm not a tool, but we're tools, right? You can go pick up a Schroeder, pick up a Montero, and use that tool in your life right now. You know what I mean? Go dust that off, get that off the shelf, and use it to take your next step, right? What is somebody going to actionably do to go get that energy in their life? And I'll ask the question one more time. Would somebody hire you? Anybody who's on this listening to this podcast, would somebody hire you based on your energy alone? Or are you heading in a direction where they could in the future? And I think that's a really neat question to ask, even though it sounds a little bit lofty, because energy is the movement behind anything. Enthusiasm and energy move efforts. Enthusiasm and energy move the scaling of excellence. They complete jobs. They motivate people. They build teams. Everything comes from energy. And so if we don't have energy, I love your analogy. You've just got a bunch of skills that are collecting dust on the shelf that you're not using, because there's not much good to having a tool without somebody to put it in the palm of their hand and actually use it with energy. I love that. So, Brandon, what closing comments, what challenges do you have? If somebody's like, okay, I dig the podcast, I love Brandon, I got through Jason pissing me off, but they're like, I'm here, I'm ready. What do we do? What do people do? What's your challenge? Let's close this out.
So I guess my challenge would be if you're struggling to find the mindset, what could you do to pave the way for yourself? Say you're not there from a feeling standpoint, or you're like, well, I want that sincerity, want to believe it, but what are you doing to pave the path for that in small steps? A really easy thing, right? We talked about, confident body language, delivering, creating competence.
Mhm.
So what's creating joy body language? What's creating energy body language? I would say when you walk into a room, are you smiling? What does your smile tell you? It tells you I've decided to be in a good mood today, at least this moment, if not today, right? You walk into a room and your smile tells everybody else the same thing. Good mood. That idea is just out there now. Good mood. Smiling, good mood. Like, what are you doing in your day-to-day practices, or in a moment, in any moment, right? One moment in time, to project or promote or pave the path for those to hear. What for yourself? Me, I like to smile. I like to look people right in the eye and make personal connections. I like to do the hi, how you doing to people who are strangers that probably were just going to walk straight past, or try to do the no eye contact, head down, like, "How to you?" And I'm just like, what to do is have a good day when you pass me. I'm going to feel it.
I love that.
And this is a silly example. I have a pink phone because I want this phone to not allow me to be serious. So how much of an a-hole, or like how angry can I be, and then take out my pink phone and be like, let me look that up for you really quick. Like, I want to pave the way with things or actions, so that, like, hey, I actually had to have a good day because it was already laid out for me. Those were the only steps available for me to walk on. What can you do to pave the way? Little things. If you're worried about how am I going to get there, well, start paving the way. Figure out those little things. Is it How to Win Friends and Influence People that has the what's it?
I don't know. I don't
No?
think so.
There's the philosophy of having a little item that makes you interesting to spark conversation, because you're looking to spark conversation. So you pave the way with the thing that leads to conversation.
Yeah. I forget what that's from. Gosh, I know I've read it. I just don't remember.
What's it? If we looked it up, I'm sure it would take us back. But so,
let me be rude here.
what are your way pavers that you're doing to spark happiness or energy in other people or for yourself, right? The what's it, you could forget you want to be talkative, but your little, like cuckoo clock lapel pin where the bird pops out every hour, you're going to start some conversations. The way is paved. You just have to be there when when somebody asks. Did you do that with other little stepping stones towards your happiness, towards your energy, whatever else?
I love it. I found some children's books and a picture of a number 2. But I didn't find anything about what. So I think the search continues for what book is the funny things you'll find on the internet. Well, so Brandon, this has been really cool. So, how does this apply to construction? It's everything. It's how we do proposals. It's how we lead our teams. It's how we build people. It's how we motivate the workforce. It's how we get jobs clean and safe. It's everything. It's everything. Somebody please go show me a job that's clean, that's beautifully clean and organized and safe, where energy wasn't the key. Somebody go show me a team that's wonderful and enjoyable, and somebody show me the low energy people that put that together. You're not going to find it. And what my challenge is I like this saying, even though it's a little bit lofty, is like everything on site should bring us joy. When I talk about the research laboratory a lot when I was in Tucson. The trailer brought me joy. The parking lot brought me joy. The fence was perfect and it brought me joy. The traffic control company, I always made them replace signs when they got old. The traffic control and the cones freaking brought me joy. The signage, the bathrooms, the freaking lunchroom brought me joy. The entrance of the site brought me joy. I'd walk by the damn, sorry, now I'm going to have to mark this explicit. I'd walk by the dumpster by the hoist. Brandon, I wish I could have taken you there when I was running that job. There wasn't a single piece of trash near the dumpster near the hoist. It brought me joy. The pavement near the hoist, which was asphalt, was always beautifully swept. Everything brought me joy. And I just feel like that's kind of the measure, right? Have we created environments? Have we created office trailers? Have we created teams? Have we created gang boxes? Have we created, like you did, the back of your truck, your survey truck? Have we created environments that bring us joy, that are high energy, and that allow us to show up and perform at a high level? And to your point, which is a higher level of existence, have we created that environment in our own minds? Which I think is game changing. And so I think we've given plenty of challenges today and plenty of things that people can go implement. The other thing, I do have to say this, I want people to implement this book. And I think it's so fitting that we're talking about energy. Now that they know the contents of this book, they've just listened to it all on audio. There's good visuals, there's principles. Now they know what to do. How are they going to get it done? Was it just this? No. Now they're going to need to square their shoulders. They're going to summon that. They're going to have to reframe, and they're going to say, this is where I'm headed. I will accomplish this. So I appreciate you being on this podcast tonight. Anything else you want to close out with?
I do, and it's right on the note of what you just said. There is no movement or production without energy. So, right, we said the higher existence phrase, and if you're just like, this is really spiritual, guys, there's no movement or production without energy. You think that doesn't apply to your job site? Do you think a worker with low energy or no energy will really produce or create more for you than a worker with high energy? Do you think that applying the new Takt book or a new principle, that it won't take energy to change the momentum of a current path or system and go in a different direction? Energy is a necessity for what you want to do as a person, but specifically for any company that's producing, movement, work in place, a product. That energy is needed.
Somebody asked me the other day, well, I'm going to start sending some of these books to high profile executives to start getting, because all my business is on the East Coast. I'm going to get some more Arizona, Phoenix people, right? And so the person that's helping me with the marketing campaign was like, Jason, what's your slogan? What's your motto? And it was step up, expect more, let's go. But I'm almost thinking now like something to do with energy. We we bring the energy that's going to move your next step. I don't know. Like I'm just so motivated.
Join us today.
In elevating
You go on. You're already an hour and 10 minutes.
for work
We've got a cool leaders down there.
Companies.
Still ghosting.
You're enjoying the show.
Brian, you need a little breeze. Just share with your church and
Call in and
Onward.
help us spread the word by rating